We love to say that ancient civilizations possessed extraordinary knowledge. But the real question is not about what stones they lifted, nor about how they built structures we still cannot recreate today. The real question lies in the level of consciousness that was once the norm. Today, a person can barely endure 2 minutes of silence. They forget what it means to listen to the body, cannot focus on a single thing, and call it progress. Now look at this. We are shown columns, temples, cities carved into rock, and told, these ruins are just remnants, and then nothing. As if there was a void, and suddenly the early 20th century appears. Carts, horses, hay, as if nothing had happened in between. This is not merely the absence of information. It is deliberate erasure, as if someone systematically reset perception, so a person would never even ask, what came before? This is not a theory. You can see it in people. They stop thinking, not critically, but simply. The sense of connection with oneself has been replaced by a background of anxiety, intuition by noise, reality by a screen. Something is working, and it is not new. It is not just the age of technology, nor the flood of information. It feels like a deep tuning into forgetting, through everything, food, information, habits, even through illness. After each one, a person seems to lose a part of themselves. After the Spanish flu, after other transitions, after COVID, each time something fades, and it begins to feel as if it had always been this way. But that is a lie. We have simply forgotten who we are. When we speak of forbidden practices, we do not mean witchcraft or sacrifices, as they want us to believe. We speak of methods of entering reality beyond the mind. That was what was truly forbidden. That was what the ancient schools actually taught, and why it could never be spoken of openly. Tuning through sound. In many vanished traditions, Egypt, Sumer, the Vedas, Siberia, sound was not expression. It was an entrance into state. They knew the voice, vibration, and breath could shift the frequency of consciousness. A word, spoken correctly, changed not just mood, but the state of being. These were not mantras. They were frequency keys. Today we are taught to speak beautifully, but we have forgotten how to speak from the body, from purity, where each word resonates with the field. On the level of universal law, this is not simply the loss of tradition. It is disconnection from your own sound signature, the vibration by which the universe recognizes you. When you lose the ability to speak from yourself, you stop resonating in the field. You become background, not resonance. And this cuts off 3 key human capacities: connection with the source, the ability to enter the flow without intermediaries, subtle perception because you no longer hear yourself within, and influence on reality because your word no longer carries purity. It becomes just noise. In the ancient schools, they knew when a person speaks from their purity, reality responds because it recognizes the voice of the field. Today, most people do not truly speak. They broadcast patterns, and that is what makes them invisible to the universe. Perception through silence. In the schools of Pythagoras, in Zen temples among the Gnostics, silence was practiced as an organ of perception. It does not mean not speaking. It means stopping the inner formulation, so reality can be seen without words. Such silence is uncomfortable, because in it everything begins to sound. Fear, expectation, lies, impulse. This cannot be taught in a lecture. It can only be remembered by the body. On the level of universal law, it is the capacity for direct perception of truth without interpretation. When you enter real silence, you step out of the structure of the mind and begin to see what is not distorted by thought. This is what is dangerous for any system built on beliefs, because silence destroys concepts. It is the shift from believing to seeing. And the moment a person stops needing explanation, they become free. What is lost when this is forgotten? Intuitive knowing. Without silence, it cannot appear. Transparency of perception is replaced by ideas about reality. The ability to endure truth. Silence exposes everything, and without it, a person hides in thought. This is why noise is not accidental. It is built into civilization, so that no one hears reality directly. Awareness. I'm not the body, I am the field. From Taoist to Vedic schools, many practices were aimed at breaking identification with the body, not to escape it, but to see oneself as the inner movement that extends beyond skin and bone. This is what today is called the energetic body or the subtle field. But in the past, it was not named, it was experienced. When you recognize yourself as the field, you're no longer bound only to the external. And in that moment, you become dangerous. On the level of universal law, this means you no longer live as an object, but enter the state of the current field of consciousness. You become unpredictable because you're no longer a body reacting to stimuli, but a tuning of the field, influencing what takes place. What is cut off when this is lost? Connection with space as a living body, the sense of self beyond form, access to inner impulses, inexplicable yet precise. When you believe you're only the body, you can be controlled. When you remember that you are the field, control loses its meaning. The work with intention. Practices of intention were the most hidden because they directly touched the structure of reality. How thought turns into current, how vibration in the body shifts the flow of events, how an inner yes or no opens or closes what will happen before action even begins. This is not visualization and not affirmations. It is an inner click of consent that sets the trajectory of the world. This very point was forbidden to describe. And when you begin to recognize yourself, not as a body, but as a field, everything gradually changes. You no longer feel like an object that the world acts upon. You sense that you are the tuning of the very fabric of reality. And from this state arises the next, intention. But not in the sense of goal or will, rather as an inner choice that requires no effort, only consent. This is precisely what was taught in the closed schools. That reality is tuned, not through actions, but through the turning of attention. Through what you choose to feel is true. And if you choose from the state of the field, and not the mind, reality does not resist. It begins to reshape itself around you. This is the practice of intention, not creating the future, but allowing it to happen. When you remove obstacles and enter the pure yes, on the level of universal law. This is what makes you a creator, not a seeker, because intention does not come from the head. It is born from the center where you already are, from the silence where no guarantee is needed. And here is what is cut off when this layer is closed. The ability to recognize what is already ready in the field, the skill to tune into the right branch of reality, rather than dragging it to yourself. The understanding that you do not create your life. You agree with its deep current. That is why intention became the most forbidden practice. Because a person who can feel and choose from the field is no longer governed by fear, goals, motivation, or control. They leave the system of coercion and become free. Synchrony, the quietest yet most dangerous. When a person enters the state of full presence, the world begins to respond on its own. Coincidences stop being accidental. Coincidences, signs, exact phrases, meetings occur. You enter synchrony, and the field begins to show your path. This state cannot be imitated. It either exists or it does not, and it has always been considered a sign of a mature student. And when a person starts to remember all this, the resonance, the silence, the perception of oneself as the field, and to feel that intention is not created, but born in consent, something subtle occurs. The world begins to respond, not as a reaction, but as if it were your dance partner. simply waiting for you to finally resonate in your purity. You ask nothing, you control nothing. You simply resonate, and the world responds. This is what was called synchrony, when random words become answers, when sudden meetings turn out to be exactly what was needed, when everything around seems to help you be yourself. And in the ancient schools, they said, this is not a miracle, it is a natural state that a person enters if they are not broken within. On the level of universal law, this is a return to the unified field, a tuning with the source. You are neither above the world, nor below it, nor aside. You are inside, and you're in dialogue. But if this is lost, if a person does not resonate with their purity, if they fear silence, do not feel the field, if they do not recognize their own yes from within, synchrony disappears. What remains is chaos, struggle, the sense that everything is random and disconnected. Then a person falls into the trap of control, try to explain, calculate, and hold everything. Meanwhile, reality continues to call them, in a language they do not yet remember, but can remember because these practices are not external, they are within. And if you're listening or reading this, perhaps you're already on the way back. All these practices had no names. They were in the body, in the gaze, in presence, and therefore could not be taken away. Only the carriers could be erased, which is what happened for centuries. If all this is so alive, so simple, so natural, then why did it disappear? Who forbade remembering oneself? You will not find a single villain, cannot point at one king, priest, or ruler, because it is not a conspiracy, it is a structure born where a person fears to live from their purity. Every culture built on fear first destroys silence. It fills everything with sound, doctrine, rules. It cannot let you hear yourself, because once you hear, you no longer obey. The ban on these practices is not only about religion or the Inquisition. It is about the reprogramming of perception. When over centuries a person was taught that the voice is only for words, silence is emptiness, and reality is a fixed thing to be earned. And the scariest part is that now it doesn't even need to be forbidden directly. A person turns away from themselves, sits in noise, fears to fall silent. They think they need just a little more information, another technique, instead of simply noticing who they are right now. Hundreds of schools have disappeared, thousands of teachings burned, forgotten, distorted. But the essence is not in them. The essence is in why it was possible. Because most people were not ready to hear themselves. And so, a system came that made it impossible, but not for everyone. If you feel this now, then it already exists within you. It has not disappeared. It is simply waiting for you to remember. Not externally, but by yourself. We often think that to practice means to sit, fall silent, close your eyes. But the main point is not that, because life happens in motion, and therefore, you must learn to return to yourself in the midst of it. Do not close your eyes now. Do not turn away from what is around. On the contrary, remain in this moment, wherever you are. Walking, riding, brewing tea, or simply listening. You can just take an inner pause. Do not stop your body. Stop only the running inside. As if you were breathing not into your chest, but into the space around you. And in this moment, just listen to the inner background, not the external. What is sounding beneath it all? Let be a single second of recognition. You do not analyze, do not adjust. You simply see who is living through you right now. You observe how you resonate in this point of reality. Perhaps you notice busyness, perhaps softness, perhaps anxiety. It does not matter. You have already returned because you see. And now take a breath. And with the exhale, loosen the grip slightly. Allow reality to resonate with you. As if you were telling it, I'm here again, without an image, simply in myself. That's all. You have achieved nothing. Yet you remembered how to be yourself without effort. Not through knowledge, not through technique, but through recognition in motion, in the voice, in silence, in the field. And if you felt this, then you have already begun to return. not to practice, but to yourself. Now you know, not everything hidden is lost. Sometimes it is simply waiting for you to stop searching and start seeing.